Hi everybody, today this is a revision video for paper 2 question 5 of the AQA English Language GCSE. This question is a writing question where you write, usually to argue or persuade, you offer your viewpoint on a non-fiction topic. So there's 3 real steps to this. The first step is planning your content. And here's a step-by-step guide. It doesn't tell you what your plan should look like, it tells you what it should include and what order we suggest you do it in. So the first thing you want to do is you want to read the question twice and underline the key words. This is very, very important. If you rush straight in, you might start writing about the wrong thing and only realise halfway through. You can also complete a TAP, yeah? So you've got text type, audience, purpose. And a good way of consolidating your TAP is thinking, well, what am I being asked to do in your own words? So here, somebody might put, I am being asked to persuade students it is important to revise for Year 11 exams. So just be absolutely clear with these 2 steps what you're supposed to do. The next step is to look at what the key words in the task suggest. So what is it pushing you to? What are you meant to have an opinion on? And decide your viewpoint on it. Are you for or are you against? Make sure you have that clearly. They expect you to have a viewpoint. Even if they're saying, argue, give both sides of the story, they want you to have one that is far stronger and more passionate. The next thing you do is you are ready to put down all of your ideas in relation to the task. So if you were doing this task, you would be looking at all of the reasons why Year 11s should revise. You won't have time to write about them all. You have 45 minutes in total, and 10 of those minutes will be taken up with the kind of planning, checking, all of that kind of stuff, rather than actively writing. So what you then need to do is select 3 or 4 of the best ideas, the ones that you think you can write the most about. So if there's one that you think sounds clever but you have nothing to write about, don't go for it. If there's one that you think, yes, I can think of an example, I can think of how it will be beneficial, I can think of a method to go in there, those are the ones that you should go with. You are not being necessarily judged on what your precise idea is. You're being judged on the quality of your idea and the quality of your communication. And the quality means, do you really know what you're talking about? So it's better to write about something that you do have an element of passion for, that you do have ideas about. Your ideas, they must be complex and convincing. So bland ideas won't go. You want something that's maybe controversial. You can talk about a counter idea. You can talk with great, not uncontrolled passion, but great enthusiasm for one side. Decide them, and then decide on the order they go. Something that I like to add is, could you make a slightly cyclical structure? There should be a natural flow. So, for example, if there was this, and we were talking about reducing exam stress, getting into 6th form, future careers, lifelong skills, you probably wouldn't put the exam stress last. You could put it chronologically. Start with exam skills, then move on to 6th form and, having good study skills, then move on to your future career, then, tie it all up. There will be a good order. Make sure you think about what order you're going to put it in and write it on your plan. And then, for each idea, think of a strong topic sentence to bring in your paragraph. So you're writing now in a way, although you're not writing indiscriminately, you're thinking of how you're going to open up each of those topics. One of the things that examiners find is that people shoot out a whole lot of methods, like hundreds of rhetorical questions. I always find when I'm marking mocks, so many rhetorical questions. Actually, what will flesh out your writing is anecdotes and examples. Yeah, and look, we're talking about the cyclical structure here. You can anchor your work by starting and closing with a true story. Now, I say true story. If you haven't got true story, make one up. Or if you know one from the news, use that and personalise it as if it's you. Think of a nice story to flesh out your opening and flesh out your conclusion. So, for example, with this one, I could talk about I mean, if I was doing it, I would talk about how in my year 11 mocks, I got an extremely low grade for my maths GCSE. I got an E because I didn't prepare. And in my actual GCSE, I got a B plus, so I was about a couple marks off an A because I revised like mad. And looking back, it was far less stressful in my real exam than my mock because I knew what I was doing. So if I put that in as an anecdote in the opening, I could also put it in the conclusion and talk about how the resilience that gave me has helped me in work and life and so on. But refer back to that story. So have a little story that you can pin your opening and your closing to. Other things that you can consider for content. You might want to put on your content that in this really passionate bit, I'm going to use exclamation mark, or I'm going to put a little bit of a making you think point there, rhetorical question. So I'm going to put a question mark, maybe an ellipsis. So think about where you're going to put some of your key punctuation marks. You can put that on your plan. Think about any really important words and phrases. Technical language, that's great to put in. You know, here you're looking at this and I might use a word like pedagogy. Pedagogy is the science of teaching and learning. Or I might think, I might want to put some words to do with technology in, or psychological resilience, or something like that. Some nice, strong words where I'm just going to put them on my plan and tick them off so I know I've used them. Variety of sentence types for effect. So again, if I'm telling my nervous story about where I hadn't prepared for my exam, I might start using short sentences there. And then when I'm explaining about the depth and the detail my eventual revision went into and how it benefited me, I might put some longer, more complex explaining sentences in. I'll note and remind myself to do that on my plan. And of course, discourse markers. When are you going to use contrast ones, such as however, on the other hand, in contrast? And when are you going to use your additional ones? So moreover, furthermore, and so on. I do notice in pieces with poor planning, people use moreover loads. I don't know why. It's like a kind of addiction. They go and they use moreover like 6 times. No, don't. Plan. Moreover, furthermore, in addition. Another point would be, also, have you considered? There are lots of ways of linking your ideas together. And finally, paragraphing for effect. Again, you might say, well, actually, one of my good ideas is short and sweet. All right, make a note. Make a note that that's going to be a short, punchy paragraph. And then another one needs a bit of more of an anecdote and needs a bit more explanation. That's going to be a long one because it needs to be a long one. Oh, and then afterwards, I'm going to put in what I want you to pick up from that. I'm going to put in a 1-sentence paragraph like revision is vital on its own. Yeah, make a note of that on the plan. Think about that. Then you won't forget to do it. You won't try to pad out your long paragraph and you won't run out of time on any of them because you'll know which ones are long, which ones are short. And if you practice and practice and practice, you will get a good idea of how much you can fit in. Then step 2, when you are writing, you need to organize and think about technical accuracy as you go along. It is no good writing and writing and writing till a minute before the exam, and then as you shut your paper, you notice that you haven't used full stops correctly. Or as you shut your paper, you see a whole lot of apostrophes in plurals. That is the wrong time to notice. You need to think about these things as you go along. So as you are writing, you need to think about these things. The easiest way is to stop and check every few sentences or every paragraph. You might think, but this makes me write slower, and I need to write lots to get a high grade. You do not need to write lots. I know this is a YouTube video. I know people have commented, my teacher says I have to write 5 pages. Not at this school, your teacher doesn't say that. And this school, we get very good grades for our English GCSE. So trust me, you do not need to write 5 or 6 pages. Really well-written, shorter pieces get higher grades than long, rambling pieces. So, a well-crafted, organised piece of work, every paragraph, go and check. The opening grabs the attention of the reader. So, have you got several methods? Have you got strong vocabulary and have you got varied sentences in your introduction? Have you killed off that this essay is going to be about, or this article is going to be about? No, you are not a robot, you're a person, write like a person. You reject your first idea for keywords and think ambitiously, What that means is go back through your paragraph and look out for weak keywords. We all know the famous ones: never use nice, never use nasty, never use good, never use bad. But what about if you have put angry and you could put furious? Or what if you've put fuming and you could put incandescent with rage? Yeah, and practice, through practice, you get to know which words you overuse. The word I overuse all the time is basically. I know I do that. If I'm writing something formal, I go through and I check I have not put it in there. Okay, you consider sentence variety and length. Check your writing after every paragraph, and every paragraph check. You know, you don't have 3 or 4 sentences all the same, just randomly. Really consider it. Yeah, is it, have you gone short, short, long? Have you got a question followed by an answer? Have you got dialogue? There are so many ways to vary your sentences. There will be videos on how to do it. Have you done it in your paragraph? Does your writing make sense? When you are reading, you have to imagine, this particularly, you can kind of whisper to yourself at home, but not in the exam. Pretend you are reading it out loud and exaggerate your tone of voice. And if there is no question mark, you can't make your voice go up. You can't go, and what do you think? You have to go, and what do you think? Then you will notice where your punctuation should be. Is that a question? Should my voice go up? Question mark. Should I have a dramatic pause? Maybe I put a full stop. Maybe I put ellipsis at that point. Yeah? Read it as if you're acting it out, as if you're voicing it in your head. In the exam, you'll have to learn to do this without moving your mouth, but you can do it. Yeah? Vary the length of your paragraphs. So you absolutely have to make sure your paragraphs are the length that helps them be clear. You might have something short and shocking, shorter paragraph. Long and psychological or conceptual, longer paragraph. Key fact, 1 sentence paragraph. Huge emotional moment, 1 word paragraph. Don't use loads of 1 word paragraphs, maybe just 1. But you know what I mean. You use the length. Use tip-top. Think back to Key Stage 3. Time, place, topic, person. Yeah? And make them match. And link your paragraphs together. Yeah? Janice faced sentences. Janice is a character where he's got 2 faces on the front and back of his head. So we're talking about 2 sides of the same story. So give 1 side in the end of 1 paragraph and 1 at the other side at the start of the next. Look at your punctuation marks. Have you got a good variety? I'm not going to go into that. You know how to do that. Have you used your methods for effect? You haven't just thrown them in like a tick list. You have not. Never, never, never write crap forest at the top. You are only using methods if they help you make your work sound good and communicate well. You can't possibly do that for a whole essay at the end. Do it for every single paragraph and then read through at the end. Okay. And finally, when you've done it all, you do your final quick checks at the end. Variety. The hand of variety. Look at your hand whenever you do this, because when you're in the exam, you will look and you will have nothing written on your hand because that would be cheating. You'll look and you will see an empty hand, but you will remember all of these. And you check for all of those and you will know it is as correct as it possibly can be. And then finally, here are a few tips. Again, this reading it out loud in your head. Think about what people might feel, what people might question, and tweak and tweak and tweak. Does it make sense? And does it engage your reader? So all of this stuff is in your last few minutes after you've written your essay. And finally, I'm going to leave this up here. This is a little checklist. When you are practicing, you can use this checklist. Yeah, people say, well, the mark scheme's really confusing. Yes, it is. It confuses teachers. Use this. Go through, tick it off. If you read it through to yourself or your friend reads it and says, yes, you've done all of these, you've done okay. I hope this is useful. You can pause these when you're doing your own writing practice to help you. Please do come and see me or message me or any of your English teachers if you have any questions about this. Good luck with your revision, Year 11.